Welcome to another part of the ISM course in Statistics 1. This time with a unit on classified data. And well, not classified data in general, but in particular calculating measures of central tendency and dispersion for classified data sets. In this case, we start with this data set. Here we see on the left our different classes. Then the classes always have a specific interval. We calculate first the MIs being our class centers, so the value in the middle of the class. Then we have NI, that's the observations, how many observations per class, so NI in this case is absolute frequencies. As we discussed in the session on frequencies, when we have the absolute frequencies, we can also calculate the relative frequencies, that's here the RI, and the cumulative relative frequencies, that's the CI. So we have those added to our table, and that's all we're going to need when we calculate our specific statistics in the next step. And for this, we can start with the mode. The mode, we recall, was the most frequent value. Here what we are going to do is we are taking a look and selecting this class as modal class, where the relative frequency divided by the class width, so U or UI minus UI minus 1 means upper bound minus lower bound of the class, so class width, where this is the largest. Here in our example, the class width is always 1, so we can directly consider relative frequencies, because in all cases we would go relative frequency divided by 1. This division is mostly important if we have differently sized classes. This, for example, being the case when we work with different age groups or income groups. Not necessarily are they all of the same size. So there we first have to check, and then if we found the class with the largest relative frequency divided by class width, here in our example it's the class 4 to 5, then the class center, the MI, the corresponding MI, gives our mode. So here our modal class is 4 to 5, and our mode therefore is 4.5. So this is relatively easy. For the median, we have to do a little bit more. We see this with this formula. This might look stunning at first, however it's relatively easy. So we start by taking a look at our table, and we select the group, the class, for which the cumulative relative frequency becomes larger than 50% for the first time. So we check the first group, 0 to 1, that's 15%, so it's not larger than 50. And we check the second one, 1 to 2. There it's 0.35, it's still smaller than 50%. Then for the third one, 2 to 3, there it's 55%, so we're larger than 50%. So 2 to 3, that's our median class. Then we take the UI minus 1, being the lower bound of my class, so 2 plus, then we have 0.5 minus, then we have a large sum there. The sum basically means take the cumulative relative frequency of the class before this. So here we are in the class 2 to 3, so we need to subtract from the 50% the 0.35, the cumulative relative frequency of the class 1 to 2. So we have 0.5 minus 0.35 divided by the relative frequency of our median class. Relative frequency of the class 2 to 3, that's a 20%. So we have this fraction, and then we multiply, and that's the parentheses after this, the ui minus ui minus 1, the whole expression with the class width again. As I said earlier, the class width here is 1. So we go 2 plus then 0.5 minus 0.35 divided by 0.2 times, in parentheses, 3 minus 2, so times 1. And this gives us our median. We can also interpret the median as we start with the lower bound of our median class, and then we have to go a certain part into this median class. And the fraction gives us how much of the whole class do we need to cover until we arrive at 50%. That's the fraction part. As each class can be differently sized, we need to multiply this with the size, so with the width of our class. That's the parentheses, that's the ui minus 1. In this case, this might, as I said, look rather difficult, also if I explain this here in a theoretical fashion. If you didn't get the idea at first, just take a look at different calculations for this in the corresponding exercise sets. It will become relatively clear rather fast if you've done this once or twice. Let us, however, continue. We had the mode, we had the median, so the next one would be the arithmetic mean. This again is a bit easier here. We just multiply relative frequencies with class centers and add all of this up. So here we would go 0.5 times 0.15 plus 1.5 times 0.2 plus 2.5 times 0.2 plus 3.5 times 0.1 plus 4.5 times 0.35. So this can be calculated rather easily again. So the most important, or the hardest part, so to speak, with measures of central tendency for classified data usually is the median. So far to this. However, in the beginning I promise you not only measures of central tendency, but of dispersion as well. And well, for this we can consider the variance or sample variance. And here we can directly use the specific formula for this, which makes it a little bit easier. So if we have calculated the arithmetic mean, or our expected value, or general mean, then we can just go multiply relative frequency with the squared class centers, sum all of this up, and subtract the squared mean. So this makes this relatively easy as well. So we see, even as compared to calculating the variance, the median still looks the most daunting. However, as I said, if you do this once or twice, it won't be this hard as well. Well, this then already concludes the session on working with classified data. I hope you enjoyed listening to this, and more videos of this type and on this topic you will find in the corresponding playlist or in the corresponding course on Statistics 1. I say goodbye and till next time.